and welcome to another episode of the GYST. Because when it comes to life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, sometimes we just need a moment to get your shit together. Get your shit together. Listen, I'm so excited about today. I'm your host, Kay Bella, and I got my co-host, Joey Zaza here. And listen, this is a show of all shows because our guest today, we're going to have some real conversation because I got some stuff to talk about. And I'm sure this sister can answer some questions that I got. And, and we are just going to have a really great conversation. And I just want to introduce our amazing guest. You know her. And if you don't know her, you've heard her. Cal Riddick is in the building.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Carol.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Joe.
Let me just start with my co-host here. How you doing, Joe? You good?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have Carol here, and we planned this out like a month ago, and her schedule been so busy, and our schedule's been busy, but we got it together because we did the GYST. We got our shit together, and we made this happen. Right. So I'm excited.
Exactly. Carol. So many things to talk about. Especially like we really are going to dig into the music industry today and just kind of pick your brain and out, and your thoughts and what's going on with you and what you're doing. But let me just first ask, how are you?
I am well. I will not complain. You won't get a complaint out of me.
Good. Listen, again, we are so thankful for you agreeing to be on the show and to hang out with us for a little bit. So let's start with, how long have you been in the music industry?
That's a good question. Professionally, since I'm trying to think of the first thing I did professionally since the early 90s. No. Yeah, 19. Wow. Maybe. Early 90s.
The Black Lily.
Yeah. So, if you're talking, that's what I was asking. Because if you're talking about, first of all, let me begin by saying thank you for inviting me to come and talk with you guys because I didn't even say that. So thank you for having me here. But to answer the question, if you're talking about professionally, like when I first started getting paid for doing anything, with regard to the entertainment industry, that would have to be the early 90s.
Right. Yeah. So with that said, if you could answer the question just by saying, what would you say is different today in how the music industry, how artists are performing, how artists are rising, how artists are getting, gaining their popularity? What is different? What is the one thing you can say is absolutely different than when
Yes, interesting. So interesting you would ask me this question because there is a lot. But I've actually asked this question of some other people in the more recent past. And I'd have to say, when I was starting, we were not living in a digital age. Not at all. Everything was organic. Everything was a lot more rolling up your sleeves. We weren't afforded the opportunity of TikTok,
social media,
Instagram, and all of that. Yeah. But especially and particularly TikTok and Instagram, they offer a whole nother spotlight, platform. if you will. Well, social media, the platform itself, but with regard to those two specifically, you get a spotlight that we just didn't have. You had to come out to see us at Blue Funk, Black Lily, and all of the open mics and the different events at which we all performed. So that in and of itself is huge. With regard to a difference in how we came up and how other artists are starting now. It's beautiful, it's evolution.
I want to chime in on what you're saying because being an artist myself, and I've admired your work for so long and I've been following you, but the platform is totally different. I mean, like, people come up overnight today.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like, and it's not like they take the journey. They don't take the journey, which made a lot of individuals that we listen to today. They had a fan base of 100,000 people overnight, and then next you know they got a platinum album. So it's cool, but it's like you know,
they have a journey.
I prefer the journey.
They have a journey. It's just a different journey.
It's just
you know, everybody's journey is their own, but I mean, you know, that's with regard to evolution. That's the world in which we live now. I mean, you may very well say, well, I don't care for the way things happen now, because what you and I are used to is totally different. And sometimes we have difficulty accepting different or new because of familiarity. You and I are familiar with the way things were done at another point in time, not so much with how they're done now. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a different journey. It's just different. Everybody has a process.
So with that said, let's talk about, you know, really how you make your main money in the music industry is live performances. That's hands down. That's no new news. That's no old news. But now, I mean, that's how it used to be.
I was about to say, no. It's a combination of the two. It's a combination of creating, of writing, production, production and performing. Yeah. It's a combination of the two. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you have a song that you've either written and or produced, then that's your money. It's not so much
even more so than actually live performances.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Wow. Because if you think of the life of a copyright, and you think of the different uses for that product or that piece of, or that body of work, you know, then there can be multiple streams of income.
Absolutely. You can do television, radio, movies,
anything. License it.
Just all of the copyright. That's right.
Yeah. Because I know, you know, when you talk about artists like a Bruno Mars, like Bruno Mars music transcends, I mean, across movies. Just about every romantic comedy there is has a Bruno Mars song in it somewhere.
I mean, but commercials, but you think about that. We take that for instance. If Bruno was just performing live, and you know, well, I don't know how many songs he wrote on his products, but we'll take into consideration, let's say, the life of a project nowadays. If he's just performing, he's making money for the duration of the life of that project, as opposed to as opposed to the life of the music that he is able to license it, and in the many ways that he's able to license it. So there's
many avenues to cover today, which is a big thing for artists, because a lot of people don't understand the copyright aspect of being a creative person. What the copyright does for you, and lease your work out to different entities to make different streams of income.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
So
that's dope.
Let's talk about artists. Let's talk about artists.
Thank you.
What is making artists so popular? We have this digital platform which we didn't have before, but when you look at artists like Lizzo, and you look at artists like a Nicki Minaj or a Cardi B, or even, and let me tell you who I have been following a lot lately and just watching and looking, is Chloe and Halle. You know, Beyonce's first project. Yes. So she kind of broke off and did her solo thing. So now I'm watching them, and you know, as this young girl duo, and you know, they're just cute and they're beautiful, and
they are.
Like, God, they just make your heart melt. And then boom, Chloe came out, and I was like,
had no clothes on, just about.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Somebody gave it a message. Sex sells.
Somebody I'll tell you this.
Said, you know, sex
what
sells.
happens in that moment, Carol? Like, that is a major transition.
It is a major transition, but I want to address the first part of your question, because you were asking, you know, well, what makes these artists, you know, popular? And every single artist that you named is exceptionally talented. So we first identified with their talent. That's what we first identified with, because we heard, you know, the music that they released. So we hear Cardi and Nicki and Lizzo and Chloe and Halle, and we of course we associate a visual with them as well, but it's a combination of the two. Again, so when we hear the product, because you can see somebody that's fly, fine, or what have you, however you want to call it or describe it, but if the product that you're hearing is something with which you don't agree, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
Yeah, but you can hear a product without seeing a person and say, "Yo, that right there is
my joint."
Fire. Yeah, that's
my joint.
Right? Who is this? What is it? You don't even care what the person looks like. That right there, yo, that right there.
Hey,
you understand what I'm saying? So it's a decision with regard to the individual, how they want to present themselves. So that's to the latter part of the question you were asking with regard to specifically with regard to Chloe. That was a personal decision.
Absolutely. And it was listen to me. And she hit it. She came out, she said, hey. And I remember she did like a clip and somebody was asking her question. People were asking her questions. And someone said to her, why do you feel the need to show so much skin? And her response was, because I can. I'm proud of my body, and I hope you're proud of yours. And I was like, okay,
that's facts.
Exactly. But so that's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. Life is about choices. She said, I own who I am, and I have absolutely no problem with who I am, and I hope that you are happy with you too. So
let me give you a prime example.
There's nothing for me to say about it.
Rudy Huxtable.
I can't say anything after that. That's it. Right.
Listen, Rudy Huxtable. We all love Rudy Huxtable when she was on the Cosby's. But when she became an adult, and
Keisha Knight Pulliam.
Yes, I still call her Rudy. But when she became an adult, it was like, well, what happened? Well, she grew up. And she became this woman, and she came into womanhood, and she wanted to express her womanhood. And I think that's what the young lady went through, basically.
Possibly.
Somebody told her.
But you know what? And she was also, and you're right, too. I agree with that, Joey. And I think another part of it, too, is that she was saying, look, I'm an individual. I am a grown woman. I'm a good and grown woman, and I'm an individual. And, I want you to be familiar with me as an individual, as opposed to the association, well, in addition to, not as opposed to, but in addition to my association with my sister. So,
you separate the two.
Exactly.
So let me ask you your thoughts about this, and how do you feel personally with being a celebrity? And there are people in the world that are looking up to you, and there are people, women and girls
and guys.
What are your thoughts? And guys. And so what are your thoughts around how women exploit themselves? Do you have a thought around that? I mean, is it sometimes overboard? Is it sometimes too much? Does it sometimes send the wrong message? What are your thoughts as an artist around it? I get it. People are expressing themselves. I love it. It's like that's who you are. That's how you do. But then what about the kids that are watching? What about the women, the young girls, the guys that are watching? What are your thoughts around the messages that are being sent through doing that? Or are we sending a message?
Oh, we're definitely sending a message. We're definitely sending a message. I don't always have an opinion about what someone else does, because I don't always welcome the opinions of others with regard to who I am and what I do as a good and grown individual. But what I will say, is that we all have opinions. We all have opinions. I may not agree with what someone else says, does, or what have you, thinks even, but that's that individual's choice, and that individual will have consequences for their decisions, as will I. I will have consequences for the decisions that I make. I maintain life is about choices. So it's not up to me to judge, to me to and that's basically what I equate my opinion as judgment. It's not up to me to judge that individual, because there is a being with whom they will have to answer to. Exactly.
They got to answer to him.
It's not me. It's not me. What I like to focus on is my journey and my process. And I want to make sure that when I'm on my way, that he parts every single person within 10 plus miles and says, Carol is coming. Okay.
What you say, Carol is coming?
Listen.
Meet me at the gate.
You hear me? That's how I want to live. I want to be so far back that he says, come on, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
That's how I want to live. Front. That's how I want to live. So I don't want to cloud my journey. Mm-hmm. I don't want to cloud anything associated with Carol Riddick by having an opinion about someone else, because that's their journey and the choice that life is about choices. Absolutely. And the choices that any other individual makes outside of Carol Riddick is a choice with which they will have to live. It's a decision coupled with an action that they will have to live.
Hey, Carol, let me ask you this. Yes. You're a spiritual person. What do you feel is the temperament of the energy out here in society today? Not just in music, but the energy and the temperament that people give off through their music. What do you think about that? Like, because it's really the energy I get today, I have to shut it down because I can hear one thing, and then music does drive you, okay, to a certain point. Because when you get up in the morning, you play your music, you're getting dressed, you're working, you're getting your chi together. Okay. Now I know for a long time when I was younger and I would put on gangster rap. 9 times out of 10, sometime during that day I had a situation. I'm arguing with somebody, I got my shirt out, my chest out. Okay. What do you feel as though the energy is today through the music that we're receiving?
I think your question goes right along with what Kay just asked, the question that Kay asked. And my response again is that life is about choices. You just stated that there was a time where you would put on gangster rap, you would play it. So that was a choice you made, coupled with a decision. So there were consequences to that. Also, when you were saying a moment ago, Kay, about when you were asking me about what messages we're sending and what we're showing, Joey, I think you said this too, what we're showing our children. Well, again, life is about choices. To what are we exposing them? What are we sharing with them? If I'm responsible for another human being and I'm pouring into them, then I am going to do my best to make sure that what I pour into them is positive and contributes in a positive way to their well-being. So when you're talking about the industry overall, I mean, it's out there for consumption, but everything is out there for consumption. It's a choice that we make. It's a choice that we make. So in my home, what I play is, I play the music.
And you're right, because there's quite a few people that are responsible for the overall person that you become, especially as a child. There's a lot of factors that play a lot of pieces that play into who you become as an adult, what you are exposed to, what your values are, because that's more important, what your values are. And if your value system is intact, things will come along, because you can't stop the world from moving. You can't stop the world from changing. You can't stop people.
But I want to be clear, though. I want to be clear, and I'm sorry to have interjected, but I want to be clear. I agree with what you were saying, but I have a responsibility if I'm caring for a young adult.
That's
right. But understand that there's a whole world out there.
Outside.
You understand that this young adult will make their own choices. This young adult has the ability to do that. So I'm saying that I understand, I overstand that there is so much in this world for consumption, and I can only do but so much. So I'm not saying that the entirety of the responsibility is on other individuals to raise the younger adults properly. I'm not saying that the entire responsibility is, because when I was younger, of course, I had a village.
That's right. And the village surrounds you.
That was my family. That was my friends. That was my neighborhood. There was a village. But I do accept and understand that we all make decisions. We have that. We're given that. We're given the ability to make a decision. So because there is, like I said, so much for consumption, I have the experience that life is about choices. Life is certainly and definitely about choice. And and at some point it becomes the responsibility of that individual.
Absolutely.
To seek better and different.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I have to write half of these things down. I'm sorry, Kay. I have to write half of these things down because, when we're talking about what we are in control of and the choices that we make and these networks that push all these things out to our children into the world, the networks should be a little bit more responsible, but they're not. But like you said, it starts at home. It starts at home because I remember when I grew up inside my house, you couldn't play that Richard Pryor record. If you had to go in the basement, okay, you had to go in the basement and sneak to listen to it. But what you did hear was a lot of love music, Marvin Gaye, the OJs, the Isleys, and that's why we were such a community of loving people. Unfortunately, unlike today's generation, they are hard. They're hard. Everything is they don't know how to be, hey, hello, sister, hey, brother. Those things they exist amongst us, but they look at that as like being corny a little bit. And it's just difference. It's just difference. And the last thing, but not least, before I let Kay jump on, I watched this thing with Bill Cosby the other day, and it was like a 3-4 part series.
Oh, yeah.
And I was upset. I was upset about it. I was upset that they built him up, then they kicked him out. They kicked the wheels from underneath him. But my point I wanted to make is that network, what he was trying to do, they did not want, because what he accomplished the first time, when he changed the outcome on how we looked at school, we had more people going to HBCU schools than a little bit at the time the Cosby Show was on. We had more Black families aspiring to achieve better as a family. You were showing a different side of the family besides good times, what's happening, and things like that. And what he put on us was something very special. He educated us his way through comedy, through his cartoons, and it really embraced us and pushed us up to a higher level. And when they realized he had that power to do it, they snatched it away because, see, they have the power to taint us right now. We're being tainted. That's just my belief because I see things on television that just should not be there. But that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. And in today's society, you got to kind of go like this. You can't really express how you feel without somebody getting ruffled the feathers. You know what I mean? But it's just different. It's really different.
I say I can't speak toward that because I've not seen the documentary. I know about which you speak, though. I plan to watch it. But what I can say is that's the beauty of having the internet nowadays, because information is everywhere. That is the beauty about this. I mean, that we can sit here right now in this moment and say what we can share information. We can correct information. We can right wrongs verbally. That is the beauty that I find. And this will live on the internet. This will live.
Yes, will live.
Because the very thing we're doing right now, we can play over and over and over.
It will live forever.
It will. It will.
That's the scary part.
Yes. No, that's the beauty in it. It will live in perpetuity. That's the beauty of it.
When I say scary, because you look at movies, like for instance, Jarrell, the son of Jarrell, his father would come back in a virtual form and speak to him and tell him what his wishes were. Well, that's what we're doing right now. I can leave a message for my children right now, even though they're babies, and 17 years from now, somebody could play it for them. I'm like, this is your father's wishes. And I can say, hey, son, hey, daughter, if you're watching this, obviously, I'm in heaven, but this is what I need you to do.
And then to the point that you made with regard to the impact of Bill Cosby, it didn't start with him. He wasn't the first.
No,
I mean, let's if we're going to put it out there, then let's say it. He wasn't the first. That it's been a part of our history. If there's been any of us, and that's man, woman, or child, that has demonstrated an inkling of greatness or the ability to influence, I'll say that the ability to influence on on a great level. I mean, history has shown you what has happened.
Yeah.
History. We've got history to prove it.
So let's talk a minute about as an artist.
Okay.
Is we call things like, music from our day, we call it old school. Artists from our day, we call them old school.
OG and
OGs, it's that love music, it's that thing, it's that, that we grooved off of in the basement parties, we all of it. How relevant is that generation of artists? It's like when actors we grew up with, and now, and I lived in LA for 3 years and watch actors, and there's a moment where the phone stops ringing. There's a moment where the phone stops ringing. And, because I remember going to the Spectrum and Parliament Funkadelic and Bootsy, and they were sold out shows, and they were just, and are the OGs still having sellout shows?
Oh, absolutely.
Are the opportunities still there for the OGs performing at that level? Because, you walk into some of these concerts and, with the newer generation, and, you got 30,000 people in stands, you got 30, arenas. I mean, major arenas. Now, we just watched the Super Bowl. Listen, it couldn't get better.
Hello.
It couldn't get better than that.
Hello.
It will.
That was history. That was another part of history.
But my question is, is the phone still ringing for artists? Those artists that we loved forever.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Ringing.
Listen.
The short answer is yes. The short answer is yes.
Okay,
but
so with that,
I'm an OG as well now to some.
So
I'm an OG to a whole new demographic.
I know. That's why I'm asking you questions. So another part, the second half of that is, does the money match? Is the phone still ringing? Does the money match?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Yes and yes. But even though we're living in COVID compromised times, it hasn't diminished, who I am as an artist. Praise God for that.
Right.
It didn't diminish that. People, we've just been made to create workarounds and to make things work. But yes, to the short answer is yes. Yes, the phone is still ringing, and yes, the money does still match.
So let me ask you this, Carol. I mean, how was it to perform with some of the great legends? I mean, you're with Ron Isley, Will Downing. I mean, I was so impressed with you at the Ron Isley show at the Robin Hood Delis. It was an amazing show. You remember I was the guy in the audience waving like, hey, and like, yeah. I mean, like you definitely bring it all the time. And but Ron Isley, he's been in the game for over 50 years. Right? How was it to grace the stage with that?
First of all, I mean, he's just one person. I'm saying, because with so many, with each and every one of them, I'm still a student. Even though I'm an OG to some, I'm still a student. There's always something to learn. There's always something to take away. And it's always a once in a lifetime experience for me when I get to share the stage with anybody who has been doing this for as long as they, the Isley brothers, he and Ernie, as long as that's a gift. That's a huge blessing. One that I don't take lightly. One that I do not take lightly.
Listen,
I mean, you got a concert coming up. I'm sorry,
I just saw New Edition is on.
Listen, is it the Culture Tour or something?
It was here last night.
I don't care where New Edition is. Like, that's one of those shows that you're like forever. But now we could say that about Frankie Beverly. And I remember the last time I went to see Frankie Beverly, it was at the Man Music Center. And he said on the stage, because his voice wasn't up to par that day. It just wasn't. But he owned it. He owned it. Now, the one thing I loved about him is he owned it. And he looked at the audience. He said, listen, we get older and shit happens. Okay.
Let me tell you.
I don't stay 21.
Now, the amazing
Neither do we.
The amazing thing about that whole concert was, one, Maze was on fire. Like you didn't even really care, because Maze by themselves was just on fire. But Frankie Beverly, in that moment, he owned it. He said, listen, we get older, things change, but I'm still doing what I love to do.
Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
If I might, Kay.
Yes.
So I went to the show to see Frankie Beverly and Maze, the Isley Brothers, and Joe. I went to Atlantic City.
Joe is like,
just a few months ago. But but what I want to speak to that, what I want to say is that I buy a ticket to see the Isley Brothers, Frankie Beverly and Maze, whenever they are anywhere that I can get to. I buy my ticket. I've gone by myself to see them because that's how much I love them and their music. I don't care whether Frankie is having a good day, a bad day, or an indifferent day. It's about the experience for me. You know what I mean? And I listen, it was funny because I had a conversation one time. I was freaking out before one of my own shows. And I said, I mean, literally, I was in the dressing room and I was having a freak out moment. And my guitar player at the time, he said, Matt Sampson, he said, okay, what are you working through? What's happening right now? What's going on? And I said, well, what if nobody comes? What if nobody? He said, well, people are coming. People bought tickets. I said, no, but what if they don't enjoy themselves? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I said, I'm singing the same songs. It's the same show. It's the same set. And he said, okay. Is there anybody? Is there any artist that you go to see? Like repeatedly.
They don't sing the
I was
same
like,
thing.
yeah. I said, no. He said, is there anybody that you go? That was the question. I said, yeah. Well, Patti LaBelle, the Isley Brothers, Frankie Beverly and Maze. Like, I don't care. Whenever they come, I go see Michael Bublé. I go see whenever they come, wherever I am, and if I'm there, it could be out of town. If I'm going to be there for a few days, I'm going. How do I get a ticket? And he said, so why do you go? I said, are you kidding me? I want to hear Love and Need and Want You, Babe, Patti. I want there's songs that I want to hear. I want to relive moments. I want that experience. So he said,
and that is where
why wouldn't they come to see you? And it put everything in perspective for me in that moment. But I felt so dumb. I said, duh.
Let me ask you a question.
I will say this, that even when, like I said, even with Frankie, you're right. It didn't matter. The moment you heard the first note of the song, you didn't care what happened after that. You didn't care if he missed a note, or you didn't care, because one thing you just said is that it takes you back to a place in time.
It's all about the experience. You either
felt good, you felt loved, you felt, cared about, you felt joy, you felt, it just takes you back to a place in time where it is a good feeling. It is
there
a
you
good
have
feeling.
It.
And so anytime there's an opportunity for you to feel that,
you're
going to take it.
People keep coming back buying those tickets, because look at the world we live in right now. Who wouldn't want a Frankie Beverly song, or Carol Riddick song, or Patti LaBelle song?
And listen. Speaking of that,
I'll be able to go to sleep. If I heard that, I'd be able to go to sleep tonight and be like, I'm cool.
Well, that's cool. But Carol, speaking of tickets, though, you got a performance coming up with Mr. Beasley, right?
Gerald Beasley, so we do a tribute to Nina Simone. So we perform a tribute to Nina Simone. It's myself, Gerald Beasley, Aaron Graves, and Tim Hudson. So we are going to be at South March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then I'm doing my show, An Evening With, in April. at South, April 8th and 9th. So thank you for that.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Well, yes. Also, let me ask you, you had a very, 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 very dope Christmas song.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So my parents, my babies, whom I love and adore, are as a lot know, are no longer with me in person. And they would always come to my shows, always. But they both love the holidays. And the holidays have become a rough time of the year for me because I miss them the most during that time.
Absolutely.
And we were doing a virtual performance, and we decided to perform the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, because as a tribute to my parents. That's my fur child there. She's saying, hey, I call her my assistant. So, yeah. But my assistant says hello. So in any event, we performed the Christmas song, and because of it, I mean, it was just there was a spirit in the room. There was a spirit that we felt was attached to the performance itself. So we decided to release it. So thank you for that too.
Oh, that was nice. That's really, really nice. That's a nice story behind that also.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, transitioning right into that. What can we expect from Carol Riddick 2022, 2023, 4, 5?
Let me tell you.
What's your dream? Like what's your goals right now? The question they ask, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I used to hate that question.
Yeah. Well, I know.
I used to hate it. I couldn't answer it sometimes. I couldn't answer. Well, no. I'm gonna be right here.
There's truth to that, though. People ask. There's so much truth to that. Sometimes you can't answer that question. What I will say is that I'm learning to live in the moment, and I'm learning to relish the moments that I have had, because for so long, for so many years, I've lived for everybody else. I got to get this done for this person and that done, and they ask me to do this and blah blah blah. And Caroline was getting the short end of the stick, or she didn't get a piece of the stick at all. So Caroline, I am she. So I will say that Sweet Caroline. Remember that Neil Diamond?
Sweet Caroline.
Yes. But I have begun to take moments for me. So I don't know where I will be in 5 years, because I am learning Carol all over again. I'm learning what Carol likes, what Carol wants now as a good and grown woman. I'm learning a lot about Caroline. I'm learning a lot about Carol. I'm learning so many new things about me that I can't promise you. I cannot promise you, nor say with any amount of certainty, because I just can't, where I will be or what I will be doing in 5 years. As a matter of fact, I can't wait to see. I am excited.
Where you're going to be at in 5 years.
Exactly. I am excited, but I will say that right now, I started working on another project. I say that, and I hate to say it, because I've been, I'll do the stop start thing. As a creative.
Was something there. So while you were saying, I knew there was something in the pipeline. That's why I asked you the question, because I knew it was. But go ahead.
I hate to put it out there, because people say, wait, she said that before, and she did. But life. But life. So now
life has its way.
It has its way. So I've been doing that. But I've also begun working on a radio show. I'm an alternating co-host on a radio show on WURD called Love and Life. So I'm enjoying that as well. Word radio. So I'm enjoying that.
Really good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so really enjoying that too. And then I just I have a merch line that I just released as well. So I have some merch, and they're designs that I create myself. So,
well, wait, let's pause for a second. Tell us a little bit about the merch line, because I didn't know that. What is it called? Where can we find it? What's happening?
So some people know that one of my hobbies is photography, but not a lot of people know that you can actually purchase items that I've that have my photographs on them. So what I've started doing with the merch line is I have things with some with my photos and some with my logo. But I have like two things that I have that seem to be favorites. Now I have candles with 3 different scents or fragrances that have my logo on it with some music notes. Those are very popular. And I have a tumbler with lyrics to 3 of my songs on it. So yeah, and that's
where
very
do we
popular
find them?
right.
Where do we find these items?
Yeah, where do we find
So I
them?
have actually under my link tree, which is everywhere. But I will share that link with you so that you
Just
can.
got it.
Yeah, you just got woohoo. So yeah.
You're
So
fast.
thank you.
So now, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and these are just like some rapid fire kind of questions, just in general.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about the state of mental health in our community, in our artists, in our celebrities? What are your thoughts on mental health?
It's so. Let me tell you how. I appreciate you asking that question because it's been a recurring conversation for me as of late. Because I'm concerned. I was saying, you and I were having a conversation offline prior to, and I was explaining to you that I believe that we're all battling something. We're all dealing with some sort of detachment or something that we're navigating or trying to work through, and living in these COVID compromised times has done nothing but enhance that. So I believe and I feel that, our mental health is in a state that number one, I've never seen in my lifetime. Number two, that is in need of repair, in need of huge repair. And I feel like, we're all so busy being the hamster on the wheel that we're not fully taking into regard our own mental health and how our words and our actions are affecting others. And I think that we all, and myself included, because we get so busy doing that we don't take into consideration what our actions or our words are, what effect our actions and our words have on the next individual. But I believe that we could all do better at trying to heal, but in the process of doing so would be helping others to heal as well, helping the next person to heal.
Well,
I feel like we're all.
That's what we're doing out here right now. That's what we're doing out here right now. Because Kay and I talked about this before, and she asked that question repeatedly because we want to know answers on how to address this. Because right now, I'm gonna throw it out there: the Black Brain Campaign. The Black Brain Campaign is something that I've been distributing throughout the city of Philadelphia, where it's free sessions for therapy for anybody. You don't have to be low income. You don't have to be in a bracket or anything. You need help, you can find the Black Brain Campaign.
You just have to be
and that's something that in the communities that we kind of lost attention to, because we never really think about this. We're more so thinking about this. We at the gym doing all this, but we're not strengthening this.
Exactly.
Here is so much, that's where it should really be at. That's the strongest muscle in the body.
Yeah, there you have it.
What are your thoughts around the Black vote? What are your thoughts around this trouble we're having around the Black vote?
In which specific regard? With regard to having individuals vote? With regard to
exactly.
Okay.
With regard to one, us being more present when it comes to politics. We need to be more present when it comes to politics.
I do agree with that.
Because for so long we have not been. We kind of, if you walked up to somebody and said, okay, who's your city council person? Who is your, state rep? Who is your senator?
They don't know.
They don't. And not
only don't they know, they have no idea what they do or what they're responsible for.
The parents don't know either.
Wait, I will say this. Well, I was just about to say, I will say that this younger demographic, I must say, is far more knowledgeable than I recall being at their age.
I agree.
They're far more knowledgeable and they're far more active than I was at their age. I feel that we dropped the ball as adults with regard to educating them, because the education with politics is important too. We've left to the media to shape the minds of our young adults with regard to politics. Yeah. Well, with regard to a lot of things, but because we're addressing politics. Yeah. So I believe that we need to do a better job as adults, educating our young adults as people of color, because the things that are taking place, we like to say, well, this is systemic. Well, we acknowledge that when there's an incident, but we don't educate our babies as they're coming. Exactly. We don't educate them so that they too are aware that this didn't just happen. This right here. Oh no, this has been happening. Right. So that they are able, willing, and ready to make decisions for change.
You know, the biggest movement I ever saw, and fortunately, that's how powerful rap culture is. Because see, that culture is around the world, is global, and that during that time when Obama was running for office, I believe is his second term, and they had the Rock the Vote campaign. I was a part of that campaign, and the bus came to Philadelphia with Puff Daddy on it and Jay-Z. I was on that bus. And you know, we rode around, but I realized how strong our voices are when they use the leverage of our people. Like he could not won that without the help of Puff Daddy, Jay-Z, the LGBTQ Foundation. These people like that were really pushing his agenda. And that's how the young people got involved, because they see Jay-Z and he's saying, hey, push this lever. Or you see Sean Combs telling you, you know, what the movement are. They knew how to tap in. Well, and that brought our youth to a level.
I don't know that in totality, that was the reason that they came out. But I do know is that we were ready for change. I do know that. And I know that they recognized that. I think that it was a huge contributing factor because music is universal. So I do believe that their influence as, you know, people of what do you call it, of interest, you know, I know that was a contributing factor. So I can agree in that regard. I don't know that it was because of them, because, you know, but I will say that because they are celebrities and they were forthcoming with their opinion and with their support, that I believe it was a huge contributing factor. But and because, you know, like you were saying, their music, their music it spans, you know, ethnic backgrounds and genres and you know, different households. So that contributed too. It contributed in such a huge way. But at the core, we were definitely ready for change, and we had and because the conversations were taking place, because you know, because we had a visual. We had a visual with whom to associate change too. Because I mean, we looked at Obama and saw that he was different from what we saw in the past. So that was our first. Exactly, that was the first.
So speaking of that, you know, President Biden just, you know, selected Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court. How important is it to have How important is it to have a Black woman on the Supreme Court?
It's extremely important. It's extremely important, but what's even as equally important is her voice and the voice that she will share, because it doesn't just mean something to have a person of color in a particular seat if their voice is not coming from the proper
being heard.
If their voice is not coming from the proper place, because so it depends on the strategy, because the strategy could be to put someone of color in a particular place to push another agenda. Exactly. Right. So that's why it's important to me that the voice be the proper voice and that the message be the proper message. So they have to go hand in hand for me. It can't just be, oh, we got a person of color. Like, yes,
right. That's the problem with the vice president for me.
Exactly what happened with Kamala. I believe that's the
vice president,
because they put her in there and it was like it went silent.
But, was like, you don't see her.
Well, understand too.
And why is she not present? What is happening? Well, I get it that they might have had an agenda for having her in there, because I do believe she deserves to be in that. But she deserves to be present also, if for no other reason for us.
She is now, but due to a
here's
war.
the thing. I definitely believe there was an agenda, but understand too, with regard to Kamala Harris, we don't know what's on their plates. We don't have a clue. What we know is the narrative that we are fed. That's all we get. What we know is what is filtered to us. I have no idea what is on that woman's plate. I have no idea what is on the plate of the administration, the current administration. Now, I do agree. I agree with you that there was an agenda. I do agree that, but it worked out that we all had the same agenda because we wanted her in the seat just as badly as the just as badly. So
like,
yes, we do.
That can come back to bite us. That can come back to bite us. And believe me, like I respect her. She is the first woman to ever grace that seat, and it should rightfully be there. She should be there. But like I said, like Kay said, she came into that seat and she totally disappeared. The first time I heard her speak in a long time is in reference to this war. And it's like, because guess what's gonna happen? When decisions are being made, it's gonna fall on her. Believe me when I tell you. What would you
have liked to hear her speak about? Let me ask you that, because like I said, we don't know what's on her plate. So what would you like to have heard her speak about? Because she is the vice president. And be mindful too, you don't hear as much from the vice president as you do the president. So what were we expecting? What was the expectation?
You do not hear. You are absolutely right, Carol, in saying that we do not hear a lot from the vice president just in general. Like we heard more like from Dick Cheney when Bush was in office because we needed to.
Heard a lot from Biden.
Bush,
a lot from Joe
Bush
Biden.
couldn't really maneuver it the way that he needed to. However, I think that there was an agenda. And what from like when I read things and I hear news reports and I'm following these things and I'm thinking, I'm hearing some of the political experts talk about how Biden put her in office because he needed her to win.
Needed those votes.
And maybe that was a part of the agenda, that he needed her to win. But two, she did piss him off because she did challenge him during the debates when they were running neck and neck. So
a lot.
Feeling a little way about that. But whether that is or not, I think that for history to have been made in such a way, I think we had expectations that really didn't exist because sometimes we lack knowledge in knowing exactly how deep or how far we go into this political arena.
I think we had unrealistic expectations overall. I mean, because so you said, so to your point, Joey, you said, well, she's not present. She's not there. Well, what was your expectation with regard to the vice president? It wasn't as if she would be, she's not going to be, she's not going to be in our faces everywhere. It was, I agree. And I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate and to try to approach the question, to try to approach the question realistically. You know what I'm saying?
Well, realistically,
we don't know what's on their plates. I'm
gonna tell you what's on her plate. Okay, lobster, steak, couscous, all types of stuff like that. But listen, what I was just saying is that for a historical moment, I expected to see more of her just at the table. Like they kind of silenced her. Like you see the vice president in meetings, you don't really see her there, not unless it's something really big he needs to announce. Then you see her behind him, and she doesn't say much. She doesn't really look at the cameras. I just expected her to be acknowledged a little bit more because she's a woman.
But do you not agree? Do you? Okay, I'm sorry to have interjected, but do you not agree there was a whole lot done from that prior administration? We don't know what kind of cleanup she's doing. We don't know what she's doing to right wrongs. We don't know. We don't have a clue.
I'll give you that. You just
and Biden are working. We don't know. We don't have a clue what she and Biden are doing. And quite honestly, if that's what we're looking for, then what are we doing? If that was the expectation, we need to see her more. What we need to see her more, then what are we doing?
It boils
what
down
I'm saying,
to,
she said she wasn't. She told us that she wasn't even a sister, but she went.
Wait a minute. It just boiled down to, and it just boils down to, we had an expectation that we probably should not have had because it was a historical moment. And because she was the first Black woman, and we had
she's not.
Oh my God! we're going to see her, and she's going to be out there, and we're going to be represented. And so we probably had that a little bit too much. And so that's just
we were represented with regard to the election. We were represented there with regard to the election. I didn't have any expectation of Kamala Harris past the election. Outside of not with regard to seeing her. The expectation I have is to the work being done. That's
exactly. But what I'm saying is that Kay,
I want to say this, Kay, I do think
the first Black woman. She's not, because she don't even consider herself to be an African American. She said it out her own mouth. So that's what I'm saying. She was put in position psychologically to say, "Oh, we need these votes. The first Black woman, we're going to get her in office." She don't even consider herself to be African American. So to me, that's like a smack in the face. You didn't make us. We voted for you because we thought you represented us. We thought you did. We thought we had another player in position. And the day she came out and said she's not African American, she's Indian. But you had all these sisters believing in Black men and people around the world believing that you was African American.
So if by her own admission, she did not say she was African American, she just admitted to being a person of color, then who are we mad at? Are you mad at her? Because because it sounds like you're saying it. Yeah, well, but then again, understand too, we had a prior administration that we wanted to be rid of. So
we took anything. We took anything but them.
Well, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that we welcomed the presentation. We welcomed the presentation because we were done. We were completely done and wanted to be completely rid of the administration that preceded them. Yes.
Well, they coming back, unfortunately.
So, all right. So let me just, wrap up with this in saying, just give me your quick thoughts on Commissioner Outlaw in the city. People are, have been attacking her, as an African-American commissioner in a major freaking city where gun violence is running rapid. Mm-hmm. What would you say to her if you had the opportunity to say something to her?
Well, I did say to her, I was in her presence, and what I said to her is that I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you and for your family. She's one person. She is one person with the same two shoulders that we all have. And
she inherited this problem.
She has a huge weight on her shoulders. But then again, you go back to talking about how we were raised, and you go back to talking about that village, and you go back to talking about the things to which we were exposed and the things that were instilled in us. Let's start there. Let's not start with her. Let's start there. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that, because we still had gun violence prior to her taking the position.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. There was still a lot of it prior to her being in the position. So what I did say to her, and what I will say to her if I should see her again, is that I am continuing to pray for you and for your family.
That's very nice of you, Carol.
I love it. Carol, thank you enough. We cannot thank you enough for joining us on another episode of The Gist. Tell people how they can reach you.
Well, as you see my IG right there, Carol _ Riddick. Yes. So you can do that. And my link is at my IG. That my link tree has everything that is associated with Carol Riddick. My shows, my merch, my podcast, like everything, the radio show, everything associated with Carol Riddick. Everything you can find on my link, which is at my IG page. NEMS.
That is awesome. Carol, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we hope that you will come back and do this with us. I love the conversation. Like, I love the conversation. We could go on for hours.
Hours. We're going to be balling.
I love the passion. I'm like, that's it right there.
I know I am a passionate person. I'm so passionate.
Hey, Carol.
But before we go, join us again at another time. That would be absolutely great.
I want to say thank you too. I want to say thank you too. And like me and Kay used to do it back in the day on radio. You want to kick a couple shout outs to anybody before you go? You want to say hello to anybody before you go.
I'm sending my love. I'm sending my love universally everywhere.
Sending her love universally.
We all need it. We all need it.
That's right.
For those of you who will see this episode with Carol Riddick, we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for watching The Gist, because when it comes to life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, sometimes you just need a moment to get your shit
together.
Carol, before we go, who in the music industry needs to get this shit together?
Oh, child, please, me.
Me too. Say no.
Me.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
We are out of here. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.
All right, y'all.